Hi, and welcome, hi.
In a world where economic strength often determines a country's global influence and quality of life for its citizens, there are some nations that struggle with low GDP figures. These countries face unique challenges in their efforts to improve their economies and provide for their populations. Today, we will explore the top 10 low GDP countries in the world, shedding light on the factors that contribute to their economic struggles and the potential pathways to a more prosperous future. Number 10. Madagascar. Since becoming independent from France in 1960, Madagascar has experienced bouts of political instability, violent coups, and disputed elections. Elected in 2019, President Andry Rajoelina came to power, promising to tackle corruption, reduce poverty, and develop the economy. Number 9. Chad. Chad has Africa's 10th largest oil reserves, yet poverty remains widespread, making it the 9th poorest country in the world. Most of the windfall from the nation's 2003 oil find was spent by the country's autocratic ruler, Idris Deby, on fighting rebels and cracking down on any form of dissent. Number 8. Liberia. Africa's oldest republic has ranked amongst the poorest countries in the world for many years. Expectations were high when the former football star, George Weah, became president in 2018. His years in office were instead marred by high inflation, unemployment, and negative economic growth, until in 2023 he was defeated by opposition leader and former vice president Joseph Boakai in a new round of elections. Number 7. Malawi. One of Africa's smallest nations, Malawi's economy, largely dependent upon rain-fed crops, remains vulnerable to weather-related shocks. Food insecurity in rural parts is extremely high. Malawi has enjoyed stable governments since it gained independence from Britain in 1964. Number 6. Mozambique. Rich in resources and strategically located, this former Portuguese colony has often posted average GDP growth rates of more than 7% in the past decade. Yet it remains mired among the 10 poorest countries in the world, with severe climate conditions and political instability being some of the main culprits. Number 5. Nigeria. With 80% of its landlocked territory covered by the Sahara Desert and a rapidly growing population dependent upon small-scale agriculture, Niger is under threat from desertification. Food insecurity is high, as are disease and mortality rates. Recurrent clashes of the army with the Islamic State, ISIS, affiliate Boko Haram have displaced thousands. Number 4. Democratic Republic of Congo. Since gaining independence from Belgium in 1960, the DRC has suffered decades of rapacious dictatorship, political instability, and constant violence, making it irregular in our rankings of the world's poorest countries. About 65% of the country's roughly 100 million population gets by on less than $2.15 a day. Number 3. Central African Republic. Rich in gold, oil, uranium, and diamonds, the Central African Republic is a very wealthy country inhabited by very poor people, and has been among the poorest countries in the world for the better part of a decade. Number 2. Burundi. Tiny landlocked Burundi lacks natural resources and has been scarred by a 12-year civil war, contributing to its ranking of second poorest country in the world. With about 80% of Burundi's roughly 13 million citizens relying on subsistence agriculture, food insecurity is almost twice as high as the average for sub-Saharan African countries. Number 1. South Sudan. The very poorest of the world's poorest countries, South Sudan has been racked by violence since its creation in 2011. Rich in oil reserves, the landlocked state of roughly 11 million represents a textbook example of the resource curse, whereby abundance fosters political and social divisions, inequality, corruption, and warfare.